All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We have several guests that will hop on after we play the live. So thanks for joining us live, Rachel.
Good to be
And
here.
if you would, yeah, so if you would put your, I've got in the chat box there to please email, just because a lot of folks, they don't want to share their information public, of course, but if you'd want to email me your address for the best mailing address, I will be happy to send you some beef swag and recipe cards. So make sure you do that. Also, as a follow-up, we will be sending some links for videos and recipe information. So be on the lookout for that as well. And thanks for joining us. So I'm Luella. I have partnered with the Missouri Beef Industry Council, also the Missouri Beef Checkoff, to talk about beef and cooking, two of my favorite things. We're starting the series for this spring into the summer. So this is the first of 4 cooking club pieces that we'll be doing. So lots of fun recipes and facts to come. We're kicking things off this March, hard to believe it's March, as we celebrate Nutrition Month. So we're rounding out the end of March, but March was Nutrition Month, and it's a great time for us to spotlight the nutritional story of beef. So thank you for joining us. So a little bit about me. My roots in agriculture and farming go back many generations. You can see in the bottom corner of the screen is my grandma Luella and grandpa in the 1940s. They raised cattle, pigs, and crops on their farm, and so did their grandparents and great-grandparents. So telling the story of agriculture is definitely a passion of mine, as I raised my 2 boys on a farm in Missouri, and we are very passionate about telling others about our way of life. And the beef industry in general is very passionate about telling the story of how we raise cattle today. Fewer and fewer are involved in the food process as far as raising food. So we know it's really important to share that story with consumers. So here I get to share my passion for cooking, food, fellowship, and beef. So I'm very happy to do that. A little bit about the beef industry before we kick things off is 40,000 farmers and farm families, I should say, across our state that's raising beef. A lot of people don't realize that Missouri is a top cow-calf state. We actually go back and forth with the state of Oklahoma in 2nd and 3rd place. So we are a very strong beef state and proud to be so. 800,000, about around the number across the United States, raising cattle that go into our food system, and 41, that is the average head of our beef cattle farm. Again, a fact that a lot of consumers are surprised by. If you want to add into our chat box, we would love to hear, or you can comment below if you're watching later and not in the live session. Please comment your favorite beef cut and one of your favorite beef recipes that you enjoy at home. I'd love to do that and hear from you. So please add that in the chat box. Okay, so as I mentioned, March is Nutrition Month, so it's a great time to talk about beef and beef's nutritional story. And being a mom of young boys, I'm really passionate about information related to beef in the early years. So the Beef Checkoff and Beef It's What's for Dinner has put a wonderful, just a whole segment of resources together that talks about beef in the early years and how it's important to fuel our young bodies and minds with protein and the essential nutrients that beef has to offer. So there's tons of great information out on beefitswhatsfordinner.com that talks about beef and how we can make every bite count with beef. Essential nutrients in everyday life, including protein, zinc, vitamin B6, and all of those good things that help us with oral and motor development, learning and discovering things at that young age, and then acceptance of new foods as we get our little ones to try out new textures and tastes. Beef is really a home run when it comes to all of those things. So we'll be talking a little bit about that in the next few slides. Every beef bite counts. We know that because it includes protein, zinc, iron, and choline. This is a great segment that talks about beef in the early years, and we will include it in the resources as a follow-up and below for you to view. So we ask that you check that out. Also, the dietary guidelines for Americans recommended including introducing solid foods like beef to infants and toddlers. So the American Pediatrics Association is now recommending foods like beef in those early years, as early as 6 months. So it's a wonderful time to talk about beef and how we incorporate that into various life stages. Oops. Also, there's a lot of things when it comes to beef and early eaters. There's a lot of great research on beefit'swhatsfordinner.com under the nutrition section if you'd like to read more, and from a great accredited team of pediatricians, doctors, dietitians, and it's just really a great testimonial from them and their research and their background of how beef can be incorporated into a diet. We know that beef, we always talk about beef's Big 10. It has a whole package of 10 essential nutrients that can fuel our bodies. And when we're talking about young eaters, it can really start them out with that important nutrition that they need as they're growing and learning and developing. So protein, iron, zinc, choline, vitamin B12, and vitamin B6. All good things to help with cognitive growth development, brain function, nervous system development, and the list goes on. So we love that we can incorporate and introduce beef to our early eaters. Also, digestive health. We know it's important to introduce lots of different food groups into a baby's tummy as they're starting that journey and help develop a healthy digestive system. So beef paired with lots of colorful foods like fruits and vegetables can encourage that good gut health. Also, of course, like I said, we've got a great nutritional story to tell when it comes to beef, but beyond nutrition, there's wonderful attributes to beef that can help young eaters when it comes to flavor, texture, exploration, and supporting that oral and motor development. That's really important. So introducing textures like beef in different forms, whether it's ground beef or roast or stew meat, like we're using in today's recipe, really incorporates that texture and that discovery phase, which is really great for young eaters as they're starting that journey with food. There's also a great collection out on beefit'swhatsfordinner.com for all kinds of things, whatever you're hungry for. But I wanted to give a shout out to the recipe for tots section under Beef It's What's for Dinner, which is some great recipes to try if you have some younger eaters and you want to incorporate beef at that early age. I also want to mention it's always important to talk to your child's physician when it comes to incorporating solid foods and things like beef into the diet. So here's some great recipes like chili, pasta skillet primavera, and what we're going to do today is our Moroccan beef and sweet potato stew. So lots of great recipe inspiration. If you're like me, sometimes you just need an idea for something new and fun. So with all of that good nutritional information, let's get cooking, which I think is the fun part of the session. And we're going to do a Moroccan beef stew. I will talk about the ingredients that we need and also the nutritional profile of this recipe. It's great for all ages and stages. So something that every age and stage can enjoy. It's hearty, great nutritional profile. And so it's a good one to feature. So we're going to flip our screen here so that we can show you this recipe. So hang with us just a minute here as we flip our screen. Samantha is here as also with the Missouri Beef Industry Council, helping me run things smoothly and helping on the technology side. Well, hey there, I'm Luella and I've partnered with the Missouri Beef Industry Council and it's great to be with you. Welcome to the Cooking Club. So we're glad that you're here, and over the next 4 pieces of this cooking club, we'll be sharing some easy to follow recipes, talking about beef from pasture to plate, and hopefully giving you some inspiration to incorporate into your busy family schedule because beef is a wonderful tool to fuel your body, and we're going to talk a little bit about that over the course of the next few weeks. Also, just a little bit of introduction about me as I kick things off. I am a mom of 2 growing boys. We raise cattle and crops in Northeast Missouri and also come from a farm. So telling the story of farm families and how food gets to the plate is certainly a passion of mine. So I'm grateful to be with you. And also just sharing the wonderful story that beef has to tell. And then of course I love to cook. So this gives me an opportunity to share not only tips around the recipes itself, but hopefully shed some light on the beef industry. So today I'm really excited about this recipe because it requires a crock pot, and crock pots are my friend. I love crock pots. It's just such a welcoming feeling to get up of a morning, have something in the crock pot working for you while you're busy with your day, and know that you're gonna have a hearty meal when you come home or when you're ending your day. So this is a great recipe for your family. It's also a recipe recommended in our early years category on Beef It's What's for Dinner. So every bite your baby takes counts, and we know that, especially in the first 24 months of life as they're going through important and crucial developmental periods. And the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Women, Infants, and Children's Program, I want to make sure I'm getting all of that right, and this content is on beefitswhatsfordinner.com, has for the first time, the dietary guidelines recommended things like beef and protein for young diets. So as early as 6 months, and of course we recommend you consulting your physician and your child's physician if you have questions or wanting to incorporate solid foods. But we know beef can really provide that nutrition in terms of choline, zinc, and those essential nutrients that are really needed for everyday development. So we are so glad to tell that story. The Early Years is a campaign and an event that is really robust with information, and you hear from experts themselves, including a panel of pediatricians and others who can share more. So if that's of interest to you, please go to beefitswhatsfordinner.com. You can click on nutrition, and there's a whole section about beef in the early years and wonderful resources and great print-ready files for you to look into. So head over to beefitswhatsfordinner.com for that information. This is a great early years recipe for your little ones' palates, but adults alike are going to enjoy it. It is delicious. So what are we going to need for our ingredients today? And that includes 2 pounds of stew meat, which is going to be our base. I love stew meat as a staple in my kitchen because it's just great for chilies, slow cooker meals, I should say. So it's definitely great to have on hand. So we've got 2.5 pounds of stew meat. In a lot of your grocery stores, you can pick up stew meat that's already cubed up. If not, you're looking for 1 to 1.5 inches of stew meat. So delicious, delicious. We're also going to include 3 tablespoons of flour, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, which may seem a little bit out of the norm, but it's going to add flavor to this dish. And then we are going to have 1 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper, 1 pound of sweet potatoes, and we're going to cube those up, peeled and cut. And then we are going to do 1 can of tomatoes that's going to have garlic and onion added. If you are doing this for little ones, you may want to get the no salt added, and you can look at those in the notes below the recipe. And then, of course, there's some suggested pairings at the end. So what are we cooking today? We're cooking Moroccan beef and sweet potato stew. So good. And I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes. I like to just grill a steak and cube up sweet potatoes and roast them in the oven, and that's a perfect meal for me. So enough of that. We're going to get started. So this is super simple. You're going to combine your flour, your cinnamon, your spices, all in a bowl, and I've already done that. So we've got 3 tablespoons of flour, 2 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of cinnamon, some salt, and a little bit of pepper. And I've already got this ready to go. I love to use a slow cooker liner in my slow cooker, so you probably already use that, but if you don't, check it out. Super easy cleanup. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the bottom of my slow cooker. I'm going to go ahead and then add my stew meat. And then I'm going to add my cubed sweet potatoes. Again, love to roast these on about 450 until they're crunchy on the outside. I also like to sprinkle them with garlic pepper or dill. If you like dill, delicious. Garlic pepper, garlic salt, or dill, yum. So we're gonna add our sweet potatoes onto our stew meat, and then we're going to toss to coat. And then you're gonna get that all coated up, and then at the very top, you're gonna add your tomatoes. So like I said, this is a super simple dish. And that's all it takes. So you're going to put your, if you're doing low, it's going to be about 8 to 9 hours on low, or 4 to 6 hours on high in your slow cooker. So you're ready to go. I do want to talk a little bit about the nutritional profile of this recipe because it is wonderful. For about 20% of your calories, a serving brings in about 49 grams of protein. That's a whopping 98% of your daily needs for protein, and it really hits the mark on zinc, actually delivering 121 milligrams of zinc, which is over 100% of your daily intake for the day. So again, for 20% of your calories, you're getting your protein and zinc for the day, and you're not compromising for flavor. So delicious. Stew meat, tomatoes, your spices, and your sweet potatoes, and you're set. They do recommend that you can serve this with parsley or almonds on top. I'm probably going to serve it with like a steamed brown rice as a side. You could also do some broccolis or another green vegetable, would be delicious. This is one of others and recommended in your early years recipe collection. So head on over to the early years recipe collection under beefit'swhat'sfordinner.com if you want some more recipe inspiration. And next time we're going to talk a little bit about beef and pairing it with greens. And we're going to do a fun salad, and I hear there's guacamole involved, so we're going to have fun with that. But we're glad you joined us today for this recipe. You can go over to beefit'swhat'sfordinner.com. We're also going to click it, or I should say share it for you as well, so it's easy to access. And I just want to mention too, as we're doing these workshops and you're engaged, we're going to give out some fun prizes, so stay on the look for that. And also, as you are watching, if you have other questions or some recipe ideas that you'd like to see, we always love to hear that in the chat, or send us a message. So thanks for joining us today for the Cooking Club and spotlighting a recipe for our young eaters, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Okay, so there's our recipe. We will be sending this over after our workshop ends, so you'll have the recipe there for reference if you'd like to make it at home. Also, I hit on the nutritional profile of the recipe, but again, it's such a great recipe when it comes to getting your protein and zinc for the day. For as few as calories as 20%, you're getting your protein and your zinc for the day. So again, beef is such a strong point when it comes to nutrition. Also, I've plugged it several times today, but really it's a great practical application to search for recipe inspiration. I do it all the time. If I've got a certain cut of beef and I'm looking for a new recipe, I head over to beefit'swhat'sfordinner.com. I can search by the cut that I have. Practical, easy recipes with ingredients you have on hand, nothing fancy or out of the ordinary. Also has great information around raising cattle, production, cuts, all kinds of good stuff. So please check it out. It's supported by the Checkoff. So our farmers and ranchers raising beef, this is a product of them. So it's a great resources to have. I also gave a shout out to our next session. We're going to do a Mexican inspired cooking club with a peach margarita. So lots of fun with guacamole. So if Mexican flavor is your forte, then please join us. It's a great way to dress up a salad and boost up your protein and nutrition. So lots of colors going on with that one. It's a lot of fun, and we hope that we'll see you then. As we wrap up, if you have any questions, please include them in the chat below. We'll be following up with guests for more information and beef swag and resources. In the meantime, we hope to see you next time with our next cooking club. Thanks for joining us.